About 5 minutes after we got done recording last week, I was pissed instantly, and I didn't text you this yet. You totally swindled me because we were talking about going to the fantasy football all-you-can-drink party and how you weren't going to make it and you weren't going to be bringing a dish to pass like what everyone does. But you'd said, hold out $20 from my fantasy winnings, and then you guys can buy a round of drinks with it. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Very generous guy for not being able to make it. Then it hit me. It's an all-you-can-drink open bar. You totally swindled me.
Not really, though, because I was giving somebody a free $20, and I know shots aren't free. So I said to buy a round of shots specifically with that $20. So fuck off.
This is my first beer since that party. I needed 0 shots. Let's get loaded. Because this is the Loaded Box Podcast.
Where we never finish first, where we finish last. All right, I'd like to welcome you into the another episode of the Loaded Paint Podcast, where we talk about college basketball only. We have switched gears. We've switched gears to the Loaded Paint Podcast. We're talking college basketball and college basketball gambling. Is that what we're doing now? Because I don't know any other sports that exist.
Did you? Oh, my gosh. The best thing about this is... one, the name that you just came up with, Loaded Paint Podcast. I'm very impressed with that. And number 2, I wanted to bring that up before we started this episode because I honestly thought when I asked you like what we wanted to do this week, I thought you were gonna legit just come out and say, you know what, I think we need a week off because football doesn't exist in my life right now as a Packers fan.
It doesn't. I'm just betting. Here's what I want to say. Number 1, football isn't real. Number 2, I'm just betting college basketball. Number 3, I am so far off the reservation with football. My head, and you've been on our message, obviously our DMs right now. All of my head is in college basketball and the fucking stonks right now. Whether it's betting, whether it's investing in GameStop or BlackBerry or AMC or what's the one I recently did? I'm just blanking on it. It's the one that I'm actually in. I am so far and so deep into investments. This shit is getting my dick so hard. What I don't understand is why doesn't everybody bet? Why doesn't everybody gamble? I just don't. I was thinking about this driving home today. Why does everybody not gamble? I'm gambling on basketball right now. How do you guys just not gamble all the time? It's the best thing that's ever existed.
I couldn't fathom doing it, and that's why I'm intrigued by the idea of a stock market. However, so much of my free time goes towards sports, any type of sport, that I don't have enough brain capacity to look at stocks and everything as well. So I'll gamble year round on baseball and basketball and obviously football. But yeah, I don't know what you're doing with your money if you're not losing some of it weekly.
It's Nokia was the other one. And
yeah.
Honestly, dude, the thing is, I'm crazy. I'm all in on just penny stocks because everybody, these people, they do smart stuff. I'm not out here to do smart stuff. I'm out here to try to find these penny stocks that are going to make a really quick buck and try to make $1,000 today every day. So I'm not doing it. I'm tossing money in that I don't even give a fuck about losing. I just love the high of potential of maybe it fucking skyrockets like GameStop out of nowhere because a bunch of fucking Reddit guys went out there and saw something that they want to shoot up the stock. So I'm just in it for I'm in it for the adrenaline rush, man. It just gets me hard.
I couldn't be farther away, so I'm going to be able to bring us back to what we're here to do, because one of your ideas was at some point go through the 2020 season, because we always do our preseason prediction episode. And I don't know that we've ever really taken the time to go back through all of our season predictions. We have our Super Bowl picks, our playoff picks, everything that we do. So we're going to hit on that. But then we just talked about it before we hopped on here. 2021 quarterback carousel is going to be unbelievable. We've never seen the amount of starting quarterbacks that are going to be on new teams heading into a year. So we're definitely going to pay a lot of attention to that. But DJ, let's start with some of these predictions. We're going to highlight our top hits. We're going to be honest. We're going to highlight our top misses. Like I said, we'll get to the quarterback carousel. But let's start out with the positives. Let's start out with some things that we did right. What was one of your top hits from your predictions of the 2020 NFL season?
I just kind of went from the top down in my predictions sheet. So I started basically when I was looking at the AFC. I was looking at the AFC and started with the AFC North. Number one, or not number one prediction, but the top one I had on here, I hit Pitt at a 12-4, but who knew they were going to go 11-0 and then end up at that 12-4? I just thought with Big Ben, it changed everything. They had a lot of talent around them, the defense and everything. But as we watched them throughout the year, I think we all saw like this team is not a sustainable winning team.
Right.
And as much as I appreciate hitting that, they were not a 12-4 football team. They were more like an 8-8 football team.
I was just going to say, I bet if you could have went to like week 7 or 8 and been like, oh my gosh, how the hell did I predict them at 12-4? I hate this team, because you throughout the entire season had nothing nice to say about the Pittsburgh Steelers, even when they were undefeated. And the playoffs proved it, right? I mean, the playoffs proved it. They got just totally rolled at home by the Browns.
No, they were not. They just weren't a good football team. They just played really bad teams up to that point.
Yeah, it's funny, like on our hit. So I didn't want to talk about every single team, so I sort of highlighted like ones that I'm probably most proud of. And I would say that the hit that I liked the most was when we did the season predictions. We talked about like team total Vegas over under win totals, and I gave out 7 plays. And from those 7, my picks went 5-1-1. I had the Titans over 8.5 wins. They got 11 wins. I had the Texans under 7.5 wins. Easy money. They won 4 games. I had the Chargers under 8. They won 7. I had the Giants under 6.5. They got 6. I had the Panthers under 6. They hit 5. And then I had a push with the Bears at 8. And I lost with Denver. They only had 5, and I said they were going to go over 7.5. But 5-1-1 on those bets. And you know what pisses me off the most? I'm pumped that this happened. However, I'm sorry for the audio only people ever. I have to bring this up. The live version right now on Twitter and YouTube, we got a comment that said DJ got to get that fade fixed up. Old LeBron hairline looking ass.
It's really frustrating too.
You just got that.
It's really on. I notice that all the time, and it's really frustrating that I have this receding hairline happening right here, and I don't know how to fix it. Do I just cut this further back and do my hair shorter? But don't they should I color it? Don't they like spray paint it in like black people? Like I don't understand. I don't know what to do.
I'm not an expert in this by any means, but if you're going to take the top part of that hairline and push it up, go bald. Like you just gotta go bald at that part.
So I think I spray paint it because I've got good hair around it, but like this area is just it's rough, and it's like I'm still sexy as fuck. I just need to fill that little part in right there. I know it's tough. It's tough luck.
You got the excuse right there.
I might just stick with the hat. I don't even know why I didn't wear a hat. Aubrey, get me my hat.
I was saying before that great comment, the only thing I'm pissed off the most about is I didn't bet as much on these bets as I typically would in a season, just because I was so thrown off by the idea of COVID and games being canceled and how that would impact the bets. So I'm kind of pissed at myself, but 5-1-1 on 7 bets, I'm pretty excited about that.
That's good. Speaking of my wife, I just learned something a little bit ago, and you're going to love this. She was trying to figure out like I didn't realize my wife doesn't realize what the difference between Democrats and Republicans are. She didn't know what we were. She had to ask. She's staring me down. She had to ask what we were. She's like, what? Like, what are we? Are we Republican? I was like, are you? I was confused. She's like, I get them mixed up. There's only 2 of them.
She's a teacher, isn't she?
Teacher. Well, no, she's a school counselor, so she's not a teacher. Or guidance counselor, as she loves to be called.
I love that the people that are watching this can just see here from the top of the stairs, just giving DJ like the devil eye, and the audio people are just picturing it. We're trying to paint the picture for you. DJ,
gotta watch the video.
There you go. DJ, what's your number 2 hit on the season?
All right, it's not. I'll get to my favorite one in a little bit because I was right on. It's almost like I watched that division or something. But the Jets, I'll do this one quick. I'll move on to this one. Jets 2-14. That was an easy one. I think everybody had them around that. So we'll go straight to. I nailed the entire order of the AFC North. They finished top to bottom exactly how I predicted. When you can hit a division perfectly, that's something to brag about. So I was pretty excited about that one.
That's good.
That's a tough one because I bet most people would have had Baltimore finishing as the top team in that division. I had Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cincinnati, I think is how it finished. Or I mean, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati is how it finished. So that was a hard one to navigate through because those top 3 teams
Right.
After Pittsburgh having a crap year, it could be almost interchangeable based on how you predict. So that was a tough one. Really proud of that. Again, Pittsburgh was worse than what they looked, but they just kind of lucked into that 11-5 record. But yeah.
Yeah, I ended up having Pittsburgh going 10-6, but I had them finishing third behind Baltimore and Cleveland. But I'm just looking over to the South, and I actually nailed that one top to bottom. But I don't think the South was as hard to predict as the North was.
Yeah, that one was tough. I'm actually pretty proud. I would if I had to guess, that'd be the one I was the most off, but definitely wasn't because I'm going to talk about that one later.
My next one was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I had them going 13-3 and making it to the NFC Championship game. And I know it's probably not the most impressive thing because I sort of drank the all-in Kool-Aid. There were a lot of people out there that said, oh, yeah, Tampa Bay is going to be good. They're one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl. But how often do we see like these super teams come up short and just completely lay an egg? Well, I'll spoil one of my misses. The Dallas Cowboys did a very similar thing. They really loaded up for a run this year, and they fell flat. We've seen it happen before, but for Tom Brady to come in and literally take charge in a year where it's I'm sorry, I had to bring it up and just pour a little salt into that wound.
If you throw 3 interceptions in a game and try to give it up, you didn't take charge of anything.
So Tom Brady ended up just taking charge and beating the Packers in the NFC Championship.
Nope.
But the fact that in a weird offseason, he won the NFC Championship. The team won the NFC Championship, and they're in the Super Bowl. I actually sold them a game short. I had them losing in the NFC Championship game, but I was pretty excited that I believed in it. It came to fruition, and I at least had them in the NFC Championship game.
I have no comment.
Fair enough. What's your next hit?
All right, my favorite one. I nailed the Packers at 13-3. Everybody had them as their number one regression candidate. As last year, they looked bad. They weren't as good as they were. Blah blah blah. They were frauds all year long. They lost in the NFC Championship, got smashed in the NFC Championship last year. Obviously, this one is a much better game. Was winnable. Should have been won. I mean, they legitimately beat themselves. Tampa Bay was not a better football team. But I picked that. I also picked it's almost like I watch the NFC North and know what's happening with the teams around us. Because not only did I predict that order perfectly, but I also was the biggest proponent of the down year, the regression year for the Minnesota Vikings. And that I love. Oh, I wish I could add Justin Jefferson to that, just him being amazing and having him as my number one wide receiver. But that isn't one of them. But the Vikings defense being terrible and having a huge regression of a year, nailed it. I said that from day one in the offseason. They lost so many guys defensively. They lost their offensive coordinator. It just wasn't in the stars for them, and they were just rebuilding. I just don't think we'll talk about it, but I think Kirk Cousins might not be the quarterback next year.
So my reaction to that, I'm going to give away one of my misses because you gave me so much shit the day that we did our predictions because I had the Vikings winning the NFC North with an 11-5 record. They finished 7-9, but if you remember, they sort of got weirdly hot in the middle of the season. I don't think anyone would even say that they were probably a 7-9 team. The offense was okay. Dalvin Cook obviously started out very well. Thielen still did his thing. Your boy Justin Jefferson totally popped off, setting rookie records left and right. That defense let them down so hard. It's going to be an interesting offseason for the Vikings. They're definitely going to have to. I didn't put the Vikings quarterback, just kind of a spoiler into it. I didn't put Cousins or the Vikings on my quarterback carousel. I also said that word really funny, but I don't totally throw that out, but I think this offseason they're going to have to improve potentially at quarterback, but just defense, all over that defense. They just need help. So, yeah, one of my biggest misses was one of your biggest hits. The Vikings totally let me down defensively.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that coming from a million miles away.
I'm going to do the next hit that I had. This one I'm not going to spend a lot of time on either because I felt it was fairly obvious. I had Kansas City going 13-3, making it to the Super Bowl. It's not bold, but I'm just happy that I didn't overthink it. And the reason why I'm considering this one of my better hits is due to the fact that it's freaking hard to repeat winning the Super Bowl, even going to the Super Bowl. So the fact that Kansas City was able to pretty much run through the regular season the way they did, but then also win pretty comfortably in their playoff games make it to the Super Bowl. I didn't have them winning the Super Bowl, so I could still potentially have gotten that right. But just to at least make it back, I'm happy that I didn't overthink it, and I stuck with the hot team in the AFC. And I'm hoping I filibustered long enough to let DJ with his computer that he claims is one of the best in the world, but it cannot operate without battery for more than 12 minutes.
Well, I always leave it out the battery before, because I always do my work on it beforehand without the battery, and I just work on it for an hour or more, and I forget that I did that, and then I just put it on here, and I'm like, oh fuck, it's about to die, I have to run and grab the charger in the middle of the podcast 2 times now.
Yeah, this is episode 294. I figured by some point in time you would figure out how your battery works.
Well, I used to just plug it in like right away, but I just keep forgetting all of a sudden. So
yeah.
The last one I hit, it's bittersweet, but Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he hasn't won officially, but we all know it. Aaron Rodgers MVP. I mean, that's everybody, again, that's another thing I'm super proud of. Everybody's down on him, saying him and LaFleur on rocky, grounds, which they're not. I love the everybody's reaction to the comments after the last game, which is like meant nothing to anybody besides like the guys that might be gone next year.
Can't wait to talk about that same experience with my team a little later here.
It's good. It was a good revenge year for him. That offense fit perfectly. They didn't add wide receivers, and he still had the best year out of all the quarterbacks in the NFL, including Patrick Mahomes. So yeah, no, I like that. That's an exciting one. I love being able to brag about hitting on Aaron Rodgers when everybody's like Mikey, like our boy Mikey, who's like, I'm sorry, he's not a top 10 fantasy quarterback anymore. Blah, blah, blah. Suck my dick, Mikey.
Putting it out there for Mikey. I've got 2 final hits that I'll just touch on real quick. And the only reason I'm bringing up the Dolphins in this one is because I said that they were going to go 9-7, and I received all the shit in the world. It's just calling me a homer. But you know what, DJ? I sold them short. They had 10 wins. They almost made the damn playoffs. So I don't even feel bad about that anymore. And next year, I'm going to feel so great when I predict them to win the AFC East. And you guys can't even say anything bad about it.
He says almost made the playoffs, like they didn't fucking blow the playoffs when they controlled their own destiny in the last week. Had the fucking 5 seed.
Yeah, that mathematician guy they always have on NBC before the Sunday night game really got me excited when they said the Dolphins had like an 88% chance to win, and then they just totally failed at the end.
Tua fucked him over because Ryan Fitzpatrick got COVID.
That didn't happen. And then the last one I have is, of the 14 teams that made the playoffs, I correctly predicted 10. And I've never checked to see how I've done in the past with that, but I feel like that's okay. I feel like that's got to be pretty good.
I'm counting now. 1, 2,
you got your count on right
3,
now?
4.
I had 5 in each conference. I was 5 of 7 in both conferences.
I had 9.
So we're pretty damn close then. But
I only missed 2 in the AFC.
For real?
Yeah.
There you go. Then your NFC, the one that you should know even better.
Yeah.
Let's go on to your misses. I see the first one on your sheet here, and I just want to laugh at it.
What was it? I had New England. Yeah, this one is bad. I had to put this one first. I had New England at 12-4. Look, I all offseason, I was sucking on the nipple, squeezing at the tit, loving me some Cam Newton. I love Cam Newton. Still love Cam Newton. I thought he was back to normal. I thought he was going to come back. He was going to dominate. He ended up dying. His shoulder died. His shoulder died in the middle of the season. The skill guys weren't there. I don't think that even mattered if he had better skill guys. I just don't think he can throw the ball down the field anymore at a consistent clip. Like, he just doesn't have the arm strength. The shoulder just doesn't look. It's just he throws weird balls at time, and it's really weird. He's a backup quarterback somewhere. I wanted to cheer for him. I want to support him, but I as a realistic fan, I think he's just done.
I said it years ago that when the arm goes a little bit, he's going to have a rough time adapting because he was never big at really throwing with his hips and his leg. And you see it now because he throws from like a stationary position, and it's all arm, and it nosedives into the ground before the receivers. And those skill players didn't help him whatsoever. I mean, I watched more Patriots games than I probably needed to. That offense didn't scare anyone.
He reminds me of myself trying to hit a drive. Like I for some reason don't use enough like that lower body strength and hips, and I just use arms, and it doesn't go far or straight. Right. Or even with my irons, it's the same way. Like, even if it does go straight, it's not going that far. That's how he hits that's how he throws a football. It's just it doesn't have the the rest of the body, the lower legs behind it.
Oh, that's funny. That was a bad miss, but man, my top miss is worse than that, DJ. I had the Dallas Cowboys at 14-2, obviously winning the division, winning the Super Bowl, and Dak Prescott winning the MVP. They proceeded to do none of that and go 6-10. And before you go, this is the thing. Before Dak got hurt, he looked good. However, the rest of the team, they didn't look that good. That defense was so bad. They would have won the division most likely because we saw how that division played out. But come playoffs, they weren't stopping anybody.
Yeah, it's tough. I'll just go straight into mine. I talked about the division I fucked up. I just flat out fucked up the entire NFC East. I had 2 teams at 11-5.
You can't feel bad about that though. That shit show. You can't even feel bad about that.
Or I had the Cowboys at 11-5 and the Eagles at 10-6 because I remember specifically saying that I still believed in Carson Wentz. I'm gonna burp. I still believed in Carson Wentz. Well, fuck, did I get off that train quick? He's sucked, but. No, I just missed Dak getting hurt. Obviously didn't help. You talked about it. But even so, I should have known. Like, even if Dak was healthy the whole season, I talk about it all the time. Who do I hate more than anybody? Fucking Mike McCarthy was there. I should have known. Like, I warned myself multiple times. This fucking fat piece of shit staring at the goddamn big board all the time, looking like an idiot, was not going to be able to coach this team to multiple wins. And it's just going to happen again next year. You know, Dak didn't put up great numbers, but they're just going to lose a bunch of games because Mike McCarthy's their coach, and he just falls in love with throwing the ball.
They have to 100%. They have to do what the Panthers did this last year and make every single draft pick be a defensive draft pick. Just wholly revamp that thing.
I had the Giants and the football team at like 1-15.
Yeah, I'll just bleed into that one because you mentioned it. I had Washington going 2-14. And obviously they won the division and made the playoffs, but somebody had to, so I don't feel bad about that one. I'm putting it on there because I had a division winner going 2-14. But man, if that's my worst miss, I'd consider it a pretty damn good year because I don't even care about that.
Yeah, that one was just everybody would have missed on everybody in the world. Nobody knew how to predict that division. That was the ugliest. I for one appreciated how bad it was because it was so entertaining with how bad they were. It was incredible. They were just really bad. Right. Also, I fucked up with Indianapolis. I had them predicted at 5-11. They literally finished the exact opposite of that at 11-5. I didn't believe in Phillip Rivers. I thought their defense wasn't as they played awesome this year. They had a regression the year before. Like they had 2 years ago where they were good, and then like they regressed the year before this last year, and now they were back to like the number 1 defense, or one of the top 5 defenses in the league. And then I just Phillip Rivers, I thought was just dead as well.
It sucks that we had to be so like the same on that because we both came into our prediction podcast saying, dude, there was so much hype around the Colts, and I didn't anticipate that being the case, but we didn't buy into it. You had them going 5-11.
Yep.
I had them going 8-8, so I was a little bit closer. But when I had them going 8-8, I literally felt bad and said, dude, this team shouldn't win more than 6 or 7 games. But yeah, I should chalk that up as one of my misses as well, just because I actually thought they were going to be worse than what I had them at. I think I saw that. No, I think I saw that we both had this team on there.
Okay.
One of the ones that I am going to own a bit more here. I had the 49ers going 12-4. They ended up going 6-10. And you talked about it because you're going to chalk this up as a loss. But honestly, it's probably one that you could have left off because you warned me and said, dude, that team that loses the Super Bowl has that hangover, and the 49ers have the makeup to be that team. And that's exactly what happened. COVID fucked them. Injuries got them. They had a lot of excuses because a lot of their big name guys did go down. I would expect a pretty decent sized bounce back, but man, just based on pure record and where I had them finishing at 12-4, terrible loss that they only won 6 games.
Yeah, I'm not too down on myself about that one just because like they lost like their starting quarterback. They lost Bosa. They lost I think a ton of guys. Their
defensively. They didn't have receivers that one game, remember?
Yeah, I mean, it's not as bad as not having a quarterback.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as not having a quarterback. Like I could imagine having to do a practice squad 5'7" wide receiver at quarterback for a football game. But yeah, that was tough. That was tough. The other one I had was the Bucs at 9-7. That was a miss. I didn't believe in Tom Brady. I still don't believe in Tom Brady. I don't think I was wrong. He was one of the worst deep ball passes in the league. I didn't think the people that were talking about it up to week 12. He was hitting on an extremely low percentage of passes over 25 yards, like one of the worst in the NFL, because it wasn't working with Arians. And I was like, oh, I'm right. But that defense, again, they did a lot to save him. That's kind of what Tom Brady has. This is the first game that the Packers haven't given up 37-plus points in the NFC Championship game in a loss. It was like 31, but can you imagine?
You're telling me it's a step forward.
I guess, yeah. We just need a couple more scores, I guess.
Right. Is that your final miss?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's transition then to some 2021. We'll take some stabs as to where we think these teams are going to go with quarterbacks. And DJ, I noticed as I'm looking at our notes here, we didn't really do this in a great order.
Nope. So I went alphabetical, you idiot.
I didn't do it alphabetically.
Like alphabetical by city.
I don't even want to tell you how I did it. But what I think we should do here is we'll just each nominate one that we have, and if the other person has it, we'll give the input. So like I'll start, and I'm gonna get this out of the way right away. I'm gonna go with the Jets, and I'm going to say that Deshaun Watson is going to be their quarterback. And I hate this prediction because I think it is going to be so hard to move him just because of the sheer price that you're going to have to pay. But think about all the rebooting that they're doing. They already seem like they want to move on from their quarterback. They have the second overall pick. They missed out on Trevor Lawrence. You have an opportunity to either package your quarterback and picks or just a slew of picks and get the guy that you would want Trevor Lawrence basically to turn into. So you're making the best out of this situation. So I know that you're going to hate it, and I want to get this one out of the way. Well, I guess I should have done it differently if I wanted to get this out of the way. It kind of backfired on me. But I'm going to go with the Jets. I'm going to go with Deshaun Watson.
Because it's better to go by team than player. So if I'm going to go by the Jets, because that's the only way it makes sense.
Yeah.
I have the Jets sticking at number 2 and taking Justin Fields. I don't know. I just don't think – I think that Darnold Jets situation has run its course.
Right.
I don't think they want him there any longer. And I don't know. I just don't think Deshaun Watson will make that. I don't think that's one of the places he wants to be traded. I thought I saw earlier that it was, but he has a no trade clause. So he can decide where he goes. Why would he decide to go to the New York Jets? He wouldn't do that. He's got to go to a place that wins. He's not going to decide to go there. That's not it. They're going to stick at number 2 and take Justin Fields.
See, I think Watson would love the idea of the new coach. He's really respected by a lot of the players in the league. Obviously, the most major market that you can get to. And I read a report today that basically said Deshaun Watson, while he does have that no trade clause, there's really not that many teams that he would say no to. So I don't think New York is one of them. I think he would welcome the idea of being able to be the guy that can turn it around.
Nobody wants to go there. It's not a fun destination. It's criticism. You get smashed. Like nobody enjoys actually playing in New York. Nobody. Not even that. I didn't like. There was nobody like that liked it.
All right, DJ. What team are you going to nominate next?
All right. I like to. Well, we'll get the easiest one of all the way. Let's get the Jaguars out of the way.
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence, obviously the first pick in the draft. Boring. It's done. We don't have to talk about him.
I can't believe you even nominated that one. I almost didn't put that on the list because I didn't know if that it warranted a conversation.
Yeah, I just wanted to get it out of the way.
What a waste.
They're going to have a new quarterback.
I'm going to go into one of the more interesting ones then with my next pick because I am saying that Matthew Stafford is going to go to the 49ers. Saw another report today that basically said there's already a line of teams that are willing to basically ditch their first round pick in an attempt to get Matthew Stafford. And I believe the 49ers are at pick 12. And if you can somehow make just that pick happen or package that with something else, pick 12 for a guy, Matt Stafford, I know he's getting up there in age, but the 49ers are built to kind of win now. Like, I think they have a longer shelf life than just right now, but Matthew Stafford can hang around for a little while. And that's what that team needs. They just need a consistent guy at the quarterback position. Imagine Stafford in that offense with that running game and those receivers and that creative play calling. We've seen Matt Stafford have some nice seasons in the past. He could step in there and basically provide something to San Francisco that they haven't seen in a long time. There's a lot of good suitors for Matt Stafford, but I love the fit in the 49ers, and I think the draft pick makes sense.
Let me ask you this question. Where well, I had a good question, but I just lost it as I went.
Oh my gosh, how disappointing. Look at you.
What quarterback spent 2 years with Kyle Shanahan in Washington?
In Washington, Alex Smith?
Nope.
No, it wouldn't have been Alex Smith. Kirk Cousins?
Kirk Cousins.
Oh no.
They spent 2 years together in Washington. I see that matchup. I think Minnesota might be moving on. I think they're ready to move on from Kirk Cousins. They don't like that. They don't like that at all. I am matching up. Kirk Cousins seems to be a great fit, I think, in that type of offense with a guy that he's familiar with, the guy that's familiar with him, and they understand that offense, and they run the same style of offense kind of in Minnesota, that play action, run first, mix in the play action. Obviously, The Packers run that as well, type of offense. So I think that's a good fit, a guy that comes in there and knows exactly what he's doing. A better throw of the football than Jimmy Garoppolo. I predict Kirk Cousins ending up I bet like half of these don't happen because I have so many quarterbacks.
So hard. Yeah.
But Kirk Cousins, I have ending up in San Francisco.
Where we're on the same page with that one though is the idea of it being a veteran. Like I don't see them jumping up in the draft and taking a rookie and building from there unless they are going to absolutely keep Garoppolo for at least a year. So if they're done with Garoppolo, whether it's Stafford, whether it's Kirk Cousins, a player like that, I think that's the direction that they would end up going. DJ, is that your turn to pick?
Yeah. So this is an interesting one, and I'm really going on a limb. I'm going to nominate the Bears here, right? Obviously, I don't think it's Mr. Trubisky, isn't it? I don't think Nagy's going to move on with him. Nick Foles definitely isn't the guy. That guy better be done ever playing quarterback in the NFL as a starter. He's trash. I have this inkling, and he's under contract, and I know Dak Prescott is a free agent, but they're not getting rid of Dak Prescott. I think Andy Dalton draws some interest, and the Bears just have this weird thing for starting quarterbacks that are backups that they think are still revived and still have shown a little. Like Andy Dalton did look pretty damn good towards the end of the Dallas Cowboys season. He was throwing the ball around. I can see them doing that thing like they did with Glennon, like they did with Foles, like they do with they just have this weird thing about those quarterbacks, and I don't think they feel like they're rebuilding, even though they should. And I can see them taking a risk and trying to go get Andy Dalton.
Yeah, see, I thought the Bears were, like, as I was going through the list, I thought the Bears were sort of the odd team out. Like, they didn't land the big free agent, the Watson, the Stafford, the people that, not free agent, but the people that are likely to be traded. So I kind of felt like, well, if they're in a situation, they re-sign Mitch Trubisky to a 2, maybe a 3-year deal, and then I put with it and someone. So it all depends on the route they want to go. Are they going to go with like that questionable veteran route, like what they did in the past, like you said, with Nick Foles? Or do you bring in a guy like a Mac Jones, a Kyle Trask, and have them compete with Trubisky? And if they beat him out, they beat him out. If they don't beat him out, you've got the guy that you're at least comfortable with to a degree.
I don't think he's on their team, number one. Number two, I thought about that rookie thing, and I just don't – I think that he's going to be gun-shy to go grab another guy that's young when it's essentially his last chance, and he just had Trubisky, and he doesn't want to make that mistake again.
Yeah, so, I thought the same thing, but like, do you want to make the same mistake with the weird veteran like Nick Foles?
It's his last chance. So he has to bring in a guy that he thinks can do something, and a rookie guy ain't going to get it done at the pick that they're at. So I can't imagine it being a rookie. I just don't see it. I think it has to be some kind of veteran guy, and it's definitely not going to be Matt Stafford because he's not going to stay in the NFC North. Like, they're not going to allow that to happen. So I don't know.
See, that's why I'm going to be right on this one, because in the notes I wrote Mitch Trubisky and someone. Like, I'm going to be right with one of those guesses. Oh, that means it's my turn. All right, DJ, I think this is the angle that I need to play this at to get you to just get off your chest what you're trying to hold from me. The Houston Texans.
Oh.
I'm going with Justin Fields, and it goes completely into what I said with Deshaun Watson going to the Jets. If the Texans do essentially trade Watson to the Jets, obviously the number 2 pick would be a part of that deal. Trevor Lawrence is off the board. Houston is going to try to find that next franchise guy, and at that point, you're between Fields and Wilson. And I just think the way that Fields ended up finishing the season with the college football playoff game when he had a lot of doubters when he was playing with that injury, I think that they're going to go that route. It's weird that it's kind of like, I don't want to call him in the same mold as Deshaun Watson, but he is a dual threat quarterback. So it's like, well, maybe we can catch the same kind of guy here and just build around him and actually try to surround him with people rather than taking his players away. So it's almost like they're trying to get a do-over here in a sense. But I think Justin Fields has a very good shot of being that team's starting quarterback in week 1 if Deshaun Watson is not.
I have the Texans starting quarterback as Tua Tagovailoa or whatever. Vailoa. Look, I just think when it comes down to it, we're going to talk about this other team, but there's only one other team in the NFL. There's only one team. I'm sorry, Ben, but it's just – and I don't understand how you don't like it. I don't understand. What doesn't make sense to me is I don't understand how you're like, no, I want – like it doesn't make any sense. This is the top 5 – this is the top 5 quarterback in the NFL. This guy went to the playoffs last year with this trash Houston Texans team. They lost – he put up huge numbers without DeAndre Hopkins. He made Brandon Cooks resurge again. This guy, Deshaun Watson, is awesome. And he's 24 years old. He's 24 years old. You have 15 years. And the Miami Dolphins are the most ready to win now opportunity for Deshaun Watson to go to. And guess who has the best draft capital? Guess who has all these picks in the first round? Guess who we are all still like, oh, do they actually like Tua? Were they benching them every now and then? Can they get a sure thing? Are you kidding me? Deshaun Watson in 10 years is better than Tua. So that's why it doesn't make sense to me that you're not even on board with this. I think Tua is the quarterback of the Texans next year.
DJ, why I'm not on board with this, and I thought I've made this clear by now because of the 800 other times we had to talk about this on a podcast.
You don't need any picks. You can trade all the rest of your picks next year. You only need Deshaun Watson.
DJ, it's the fact that this was the plan. Punting on a roster, punting on a season, getting the young quarterback on the rookie deal, having 2 first-rounders this year, 2 second-rounders this year. So if you're going to end up trading all that away, you're thinking such short-term. And I know Deshaun Watson can be there forever and you can rebuild. But right now, if you can build this nucleus around Tua, which is what I think that they're going to end up doing, because I didn't even put the Dolphins on my list because the starting quarterback is Tua Tagovailoa.
No.
You go that route because of what you'd have to give up. If Tua could turn into what Deshaun Watson is right now, that's the goal. That's the dream. I'm saying that's the dream. DJ,
he's not even close.
But he can. We don't know yet. The team wasn't punting on him. We've talked about this a million times, and I'm not going to talk about it again. They're not punting on him. It's not going to happen. I knew that we needed to get this one out because if we ended the podcast with it, we'd talk until I passed out. I'll respect your opinion. I'm not saying that it's 100% not going to happen, but I told you a couple of days ago, I'm like 95% sure that Tua is going to be your Dolphins starting quarterback.
You're just settling for mediocrity. You're like, okay, we can build around this quarterback who may not be that great, but I've hyped him up so much in my head, and there's so much talent that we can still make him look decent instead of, you know what? Maybe we have to give up a couple of guys, but we bring Deshaun Watson in, and we take 1 step back to go 5 steps forwards. It's addition by subtraction. Like, it doesn't make any sense that you're on. I don't get it. You're adding a guy that you can – that doesn't – it takes away losing any of those picks. This is a 15-year guy. Your future is figured out. It's figured out. It doesn't – your plan just changed. That's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, you had this plan. It was a great idea. You never expected a Deshaun Watson to be available. But guess what? Deshaun Watson's a fucking available. You know what? Someone's plan is going to change in a year or two because Aaron Rodgers is going to be available. Like, I hate saying that. And I want to watch him go win a Super Bowl because I will cheer for him wherever he goes. But in 2 years, I'm guessing Aaron Rodgers is available for some team, and somebody's going to give up on their quarterback to go get Aaron Rodgers. And it's going to be a team that is on the verge of winning.
Here's the deal. Can it not be a win-win for me? Like, either way, if Tua's the guy or if Watson's the guy, I can be happy with both, but I can have a rooting interest for one over the other.
Just don't want to have to get a Deshaun Watson jersey after buying the Tua jersey.
I'll buy a Deshaun Watson jersey, and then the next year he'll break his leg or something, and then some other quarterback will be available. The Dolphins will go for Aaron Rodgers or some shit, and I'll jinx him in 2 years.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
All right. Well,
and that's what's going to happen, right? You're going to maybe Tua, they keep Tua, and I fucking threw his last name. And then he sucks. And they're like, well, fuck, Aaron Rodgers is available. Now he's Miami Dolphin. My worst nightmare. Your biggest that would be the worst case scenario of all time. So actually now I really want Deshaun Watson to go there because I just talked myself into it.
Right. Well, I apologize for nominating the Texans. I knew that where that was going to go. So DJ, that means it's your turn to nominate.
This is tough, man. I'm upset. All right. I think the Dolphins quarterback is going to be Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I guess that is a good tie, and I don't know what you need to say anymore on that. I didn't have the Dolphins on the list. Obviously, Dolphins quarterback is 100% going to be Tua Tagovailoa.
Not obviously.
So with that, this is another intriguing one to me because I just cheated on yours. I wanted to see if we had the same guy or not. Indianapolis Colts. Obviously, Phillip Rivers retiring. Obviously, a team with that defense and with some young emerging guys on offense. I don't think they're going to be the team that makes the splash in the draft. What I think they're going to do is take advantage of a good quarterback who's been in a bad situation for a lot of years now, and they're going to try their best with Frank Reich to make a total resurgence of Sam Darnold. I had this one going a couple different ways. I really like the idea of Matt Stafford going to Indianapolis. Just with the draft picks, with how everything plays out, though, I think it's more realistic. Stafford goes to the 49ers, and I'm plugging Darnold right there into that spot in the Colts because I think if you're the Texans and you're trading for that number 2 overall pick, you're picking a quarterback. I don't know that I foresee Sam Darnold even being part of that deal. So I think Darnold is part of another deal to accumulate more draft picks, and he goes to the Colts. Who do you have as the Colts starter going into 21?
I kind of just threw a dart here. I already have San Francisco going with somebody else. So I went with Jimmy G ending up in Indianapolis, a guy who's young, has a little bit of NFL experience, not a big risk, somebody who they can keep for a few years under contract. So I think he's like right in that middle range that they're kind of looking for. And I think it'd be like a 2 to 3 year contract with some options and incentives in there just to see what they have so they can kind of get out of it if they want to, because they have just this buildup of nucleus around it. So you don't want to kind of throw a rookie quarterback out there. I don't think you don't want to go grab that rookie. It doesn't make any sense in this. Yeah. They're looking to win at this point, and they need a quarterback that has experience that they have seen play come into that position. So I'm going Jimmy G here.
Yeah, we're both on that same train. Get the veteran. Don't worry about the rookie right now. Maybe they draft a guy a little bit later as a project quarterback. But the Colts wouldn't have to do that. They did that last year. Would they get Jacob Eason? I want to say maybe he can be like the guy that learns under a guy like Darnold, that learns under a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo. See what you have there at some point. But yeah, similar thought process. Right. DJ, what team do you want to nominate next?
What was the one I liked? The Saints here. It's because I talked about this earlier in the season. I think they're going to stick with their guy, Jameis Winston. 1-for-1 in the playoff game with just a beautiful touchdown pass. Just a beautiful thing. It was Jameis time. Honestly, in that game, if they would have played him, they'd beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like, I don't have any doubt in my mind. If they keep him in that game, they win that game. Drew Brees lost that game. But I just don't think Sean Payton's on board with Taysom Hill. I know they started him throughout the season, but he was never like Taysom Hill is my starting quarterback next season. He's like, we'll see. There's going to be a competition. I think he just likes having Taysom Hill as this weird cog, which is a disaster. Always a disaster ready to happen because I think it's just the dumbest thing ever. But I just it's Taysom, it's Jameis Winston. It's Jameis Winston's team moving forward, unless he throws 800 interceptions.
Well, there was even the report when the playoffs started that if the Saints, like if Breeze couldn't have gone, or if he takes a shot to the ribs, like who are they going with? And it sounded like everyone thought Jameis was going to be the answer. From then on. So I'm with you. We have a pairing on this one. It's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see which direction they go. But I think Winston sort of proved to be like a team guy. He wasn't really all about him. It just kind of seems like a good fit there. I don't know if it's how long-term of a solution that is, but just given the spot they are in the draft, I don't know that they're going to be able to make a big splash. I'm pretty sure, I don't have the numbers on me, I think they're pretty limited in regards to what they can do with the salary cap. So yeah, I think Jameis Winston is like the affordable option that they already have, that they don't have to worry about the huge learning curve because he's already been there for a year. So I'm right there with you on that one. My next nomination, I just did what you did. I had one in mind. The Atlanta Falcons. So the Falcons have the 4th pick in the draft, and I think it's time for a new era.
Yep.
What I am kind of projecting here is that Matt Ryan stays, ends up starting, being like the week 1 starter, but they're going to use one of these rookies, whether it's Zach Wilson, whether it's Trey Lance, to sit behind him for a year or two, see how it goes. And I have Trey Lance being that guy, but it's basically whichever one's available at that point in time. So my prediction for the Falcons is Matt Ryan as like a dude that's been there forever, but it's time to start rebuilding. Let's get into rookie.
Yeah, I don't think I looked at. I think I copied yours for one, but this wasn't it. I think Matt Ryan, based off the contract, has to stay there for another year, and I have them drafting. Like I think they're in the Lions position where they're ready to move on. So let's bring in a rookie right now.
Yep.
I have them taking Zach Wilson there at number 4. I actually think he's my number 2 QB coming into the NFL draft after Trevor Lawrence. So I like him better, but just right now I think that Justin Fields is going to end up going to the Jets personally. So I think Zach Wilson ends up going. It can obviously go any. It can go. I think you can flip those two, or even Trey Lance, because we didn't get to watch him play, so you don't know what the tape on him is going to end up being like and how his stock's going to end up going. So, but I like Zach Wilson a lot. I'm a big fan of him. He's got that swag, dude. Anytime you wear a bandana, you got to have some swag, man. It's ridiculous.
What's wrong with that guy? He's
I love it. Guy's got a fucking arm.
Yeah, he's channeling his inner Jim McMahon there with the college team with the bandana. Just looks like I don't even know what to like. Kind of like a punk. Like he's a punk, right?
I don't know. I like this. I don't know. There's something about him. I usually hate guys like that.
Yeah, you
do.
Maybe
it's a BYU thing. They don't usually have dudes that have any type of like
standout personality. Yeah.
He's just got this fucking bandana hanging out the back of his helmet. Just takes it off, looking all suave and shit. So I'm a fan.
So we'll both go with Matt Ryan and a rookie. I think I nominated the Falcons, so I'll let you roll here.
All right. Well, you talked about Trey Lance, so I'm going to go to the Lions. Obviously, they're going to go ahead and draft somebody, so I think those 3 guys are going to be gone. I think the Lions go ahead and take Trey Lance this year. I think they're the next best quarterback there.
I can't add too much there. I went with Zach Wilson just because the way that they're doing it, I think they are so set up to have a rookie quarterback. Obviously, the new coach, obviously Stafford's going to be out. Who knows what they're going to do with Kenny Golladay being a free agent, but it's kind of a team that needs yet another reboot. So, Jesus, it has to start with the quarterback. So I think they go with a Trey Lance, they go with a Zach Wilson, but also they're going to bring in a veteran just to kind of be the guy, I think, this year that can play before the rookie in case he's not ready. And DJ, who better than Ryan Fitzpatrick? Like, just put one more stop on that resume for that guy. I know that if he would go to New England, he could wipe out the entire AFC East of teams that he's played for. So I love the dream there, and I don't want to crush it. But, man, you get in a Zach Wilson, you get in a Trey Lance, and then you bring in a guy like – I've got down Ryan Fitzpatrick / Mitch Trubisky. Just one of those guys who you can rely on for this year.
No,
get you through.
Rely on? You can't rely on Mitch Trubisky to even carry
you. The Bears
over
in the playoffs, right?
No.
This is the total bridge. Okay, let me put Tyrod. I'll put your boy Tyrod Taylor.
He'll be the bridge
quarterback. There you
100%.
go. There you go. So there's my
Mr. Bridge quarterback. And he only makes it like 4 games, though.
He should literally change the names with Teddy Bridgewater. He should be the Bridgewater quarterback.
Yeah, and it's 2 games. It's literally it's Tyrod 2 games is what they should call him.
Let's go right into that team since I said Bridgewater. So I've got the Panthers being knee deep in this Deshaun Watson trade scenario. However, if they strike out, if it doesn't happen, and if they don't trade up in to get one of the top 3 quarterbacks, or if one of them doesn't fall to them, that's another team that's a little bit on the outside looking in. So I think, man, you pound it out with Bridgewater one more time and you hope to get a guy. I think that's really all I have for this one. I don't have a great pulse on this one. And I think they're just the team that's going to end up missing out unless they can get into that Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. So since I already have Watson out, I'm sticking with Bridgewater.
I actually think there's a contract issue there as well. They lose too much dead cap if they move on from Teddy Bridgewater, so they can't afford to do it. And he's not in his first year. I mean, he's only in his first year, so played 1 year there. So if you're going to move on from a guy who did show some skill at some points within the season, in the first year of the offense with a first-year coach, I think that's a little premature. So I'm actually upset that I even put this one on here. I don't think it's even a doubt in my mind that Bridgewater ends up being the quarterback this next year.
I put it on there for the sole purpose of I think that they're one of like the top 3 or 4 teams that are in the Deshaun Watson trade talk.
Name those top 3 or 4 teams.
Well, it's the Jets, it's the Panthers, it's the 49ers, and probably someone like the Rams.
If you look at the betting odds, I think it's like Dolphins, Jets.
We've already spent too much time on that. That was my prediction or my nomination.
All right, I've got one. This is my favorite one right here. This one makes, for some reason, as I went through it, it just made so much sense. I have the Patriots ending up with Matthew Stafford.
Oh,
Matthew Stafford.
I would hate that.
Matthew Stafford can get it done. He's got records like Aaron Rodgers has. Him and Aaron Rodgers have some of these records that nobody has. It's like so many seasons of like 4,500 plus yards or whatever. And he's the man. Like, he's really fucking good still. And ending up with Bill Belichick, a quarterback that can play, with Bill Belichick getting a quarterback that can play again like Tom Brady, better than Tom Brady. I will still say that. That would be lethal. I know I said that about Cam, but this is truly, we all see that Matthew Stafford is still a good fucking quarterback. This is Bill Belichick's West dream. He's watching Tom Brady get to the Super Bowl this year, and he's pissed. And he sees Matt Stafford coming from Matt Patricia. Obviously, Matt Patricia isn't the coach anymore, but coming from Matt Patricia, I'm sure they're putting a good word in with each other. They're talking. They've got secrets. He's getting them out of the NFC into the AFC, so they don't really have to face them at all. Nothing to worry about. Seems like an ideal place for Matt Stafford to go. That's where he wants to go. He's going to a team that's going to compete. He's going with one of the best coaches of all time, and hopefully they add a fucking wide receiver if he goes there. It's like a match made in heaven, I think.
My prediction for the Patriots, I don't know if it's something that I actually believe in or if it's just like the dream fairy tale that is the NFL coming to fruition. My prediction is Jimmy Garoppolo. And Bill Belichick is getting his guy back. If you look back to when they had to trade him, everyone believed that they got basically under market value for Garoppolo. And it's because Belichick wanted to send him to somewhere where he would succeed. Not necessarily take the best deal, but he loved Garoppolo. He loved the idea of coaching him and being the guy after Tom Brady. And guess what? If the 49ers move on and get a Stafford or get a Cousins, whoever, that means Garoppolo is likely going to end up being available, because I don't think you're going to keep Garoppolo there as a backup. He becomes available. He goes back to where he always wanted to be, for the coach that always wanted to coach him. Like I said, it feels a little bit fairy tale-ish, but Jesus, every year something stupid, crazy, weird happens in the NFL. And this Jimmy Garoppolo story just might be the one that ends up being like the 2021 Cinderella story.
I don't think so.
Good take.
They already were together. He let him go. I don't think that's a good matchup.
Let's get out an easy one here. The Denver Broncos, Drew Lock. The fact is, I don't think they're in. I feel like if they could improve, they would. Like Deshaun Watson, like I could say that about every team. Like damn near every team would get better with Deshaun Watson. However, I don't know that they'd be able to package the deal that these other teams could. And I just don't see the Denver Broncos being in the situation to be able to move up into the draft, to be enticing to a guy like Stafford. I'm thinking that they give one more run here. They're going to just go a little bit longer. I think Drew Lock has flashed enough where they're not going to punt on him. They're going to see what they have here. It's one more year, but geez, if he doesn't do it this year, like I typically wouldn't want to pull a string on a quarterback before about 30 starts. That's kind of like been my number. He's really only got, 4 or 5 at the end of last year.
Since when has that been your number?
Oh, man, I've been saying that for at least 3 or 4 days. I've been saying that last 3 or 4 days.
I've never heard you say, because I've heard you say 30 days in my entire life.
30 games.
30 games.
30 games. And I'm a hat guy now. A lot of things changing in my life since Sunday derailed me.
I have number 30 in high school for baseball, but I've never knew that was like your number all of a sudden.
30 games. I'm sorry. I keep saying the wrong word. 30 games.
I'm just flabbergasted by the fact that I just learned that this is like what you've been saying this entire time, and I podcast with you every single week.
Yeah, it's been hot. It's been one of my most used things. It's probably
trending. Hold on, I have to uninstall this antivirus protection because it expired.
it expired in 2012 when you got that quarterback.
It expires every fucking day.
I love that shit. But yeah, he's only started literally this full season, even though he didn't start the entire thing. So he's got less than 2 full seasons, probably like a season and a half is really all he has, if that. So I'd like to give him a little bit more of a run. But geez, we're seeing in today's NFL, like you're kind of given your shot. And if you don't prove it in that one season, your leash is a bit short. So give him one more run here. I'm going Drew Lock as the starter for the Broncos.
Yeah, sure.
30 games, baby.
No, I have the same thing for that, so I don't have much to add. I just think, in his 3rd year, you know what I always say, they got to play at least 42 games. So, I've
been saying that for a while now.
Moving on from that, so a couple of these were boring. They're saying, so I'm going to make it fun. I think the Vikings are going to end up with Sam Darnold because it sounds like fun. I've got no reasons behind it, but he's got to go somewhere. I think. God damn it, I'm burping everywhere.
I don't
know what. Do you not do the when you go burp after drinking beer and you pick up burp out the your breath sucks it in before you let it out?
That only happens to you. Like I've been around a lot of people in my life and I've done 294 episodes with you and you've probably burped whatever 294 times about 6 is during podcast. Like that's the stat that you're running.
I don't like that you included math into this. Yeah, no, I just want Sam Darnold at the Minnesota. I just don't care. I think he's a talented young quarterback. Coming into a team that's semi-rebuilding. And I think with that team, with the people around him, with what's the fuck Zimmer at head coach, it seems to me like it'd be a good fit. We got Justin Jefferson at wide receiver. You got a lot of young guys there. What is he, 20? He's probably 24, 25 years old himself. So he's got a lot of time left. I think he has a lot of talent. And I think he can still be a good quarterback in this league. And this is it seems to be a good spot for him because you see that they have the defensive core in Minnesota. They have the offensive talent with Delvin Cook and Justin Jefferson. And I guess Adam Thielen is okay. But, and even the tight end, what's his name? Irv Smith, the young tight end there, Irv Smith. So they've got guys. They've got guys. Got to improve on that offensive line, I think, in pass blocking. But otherwise, I think it's just a good, feel it out, see if Sam Darnold's the guy type of if he's really a talented quarterback, or if it was the New York Jets, or if it's Sam Darnold, or if it's Adam Gase.
Yeah.
Because you know what happens when you get these quarterbacks. I mean, look at your boy Tyler Tannehill. We're going to be calling him Dan Darnold next year.
I am curious to see what happens to Sam Darnold if he gets out of there, because I liked him coming out of the draft. I think
you imagine him and just dominating.
Yeah, I mean. The weird thing is I've seen enough really weird head scratching throws that he shouldn't be making at this point in his career, which is God, maybe I was a little bit wrong on him. But I've also seen him play some complete games and put some stretches together. And I'm like, if he's doing this with the supporting cast that he had and Adam Gase guiding the way, this dude could be okay. But yeah, I've got Cousins there, so I don't have much to add. I'm curious to see what you think about this one because there's been a lot of news about Jared Goff and Sean McVay maybe not seeing eye to eye right now. McVay bringing in a guy to compete. So maybe not moving on from Goff, but at least bringing in a guy to compete with him. So I wrote these names down. You've got Jared Goff and a vet. Of those vets, I'm going to save my most intriguing one for last. Ryan Fitzpatrick, just because he's like the ultimate vet that you can bring in. Mitchell Trubisky, just because he's another name that's going to get floated around and end up as a backup somewhere, most likely. And your guy, Cam Newton. Could Cam Newton potentially go there and see if he can light a little spark in training camp and preseason and maybe unseat Jared Goff just because of like the friction that's between Goff and McVay?
No. Cam Newton is done. He just doesn't have the arm. I don't even see him in that type of offense. It's just he's not. Yeah. He's a spread shotgun formation offense type of guy anyway. So you have to have him out of shotgun, so he has the option to run, pass, do all these other type of weird things, jet sweep, whatever. Does not work in that offense at all in my eyes. So I don't see that working.
But you have Jared Goff as the guy.
Yes, I have Jared Goff staying in. At the Rams. Yeah. I mean, they still, again, this is another contract situation where I don't think they can afford to get rid of him. So it's another year of Goff. And I mean, they're still a good football team. They just ended up with him breaking his thumb.
Right. No, I'm with you. And I don't know if you missed what I started. Like, I'm going Jared Goff. Like, he's my guy. I'm just saying they're going to bring in a veteran.
I don't think it'd be Cam Newton, but they could potentially if it was Blake Bortles only.
There you go.
I don't know. I don't know who it would be. Ryan Fitzpatrick. You said that, but like, I don't know. Why do you think Fitzpatrick? Are you so dead? Are you just wanting Fitzpatrick out of Miami so it doesn't have to be a thing? Because you are so desperately getting rid of Fitzpatrick on every fucking team that ever exists. He's going to be great with backup quarterback too.
The first NFL closer. He's going to make the Hall of Fame just as like a nomination for the closer position.
He just don't want him on Miami, so it's not a conversation anymore.
No, the coaching staff essentially said he's not going to be back. So that is what it is. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, I'll nominate a team before I throw you off this podcast for saying wrong things.
So I know that this one we have a different one. I have the Eagles, and I'm saying their quarterback is Jalen Hurts. I don't think that you can play him that much of the season. I love that Doug Peterson got fired because I don't even know if we talked about that the entire time, but I love that he got fired because I was saying afterwards, maybe he doesn't think they're going to get fired, but I think it's going to cause enough rift in the locker room that it's just going to build up and get him fired. And I fucking nailed it. That's exactly what ended up happening. It just ended up becoming an issue. He was done. They were done with him, and they're like, fuck it, just leave then. And it was probably the right thing to do. I just don't think Carson Wentz wants to stay in Philadelphia either way and be that quarterback there. And it feels like once you start that guy, Jalen Hurts, you can't just not go back to him in the next year.
Well, I think the theory was it's either Doug Peterson or it's Carson Wentz. So by them getting rid of Peterson, it's kind of like, okay, well, the guy that benched you is no longer here. We're going to build around you because they always say follow the money. And guess where the money is? The money is in Carson Wentz's contract. So not starting him or cutting him, just not starting him actually for Jalen Hurts makes more sense than just cutting your dead weight. I don't think either is going to happen. We saw Jalen Hurts, he flashed right away when there wasn't a bunch of tape and he could kind of play like a loose cannon.
Yeah,
shit. Once there was like a structure to the offense and the defense just kind of funneled through him and said, hey, we're going to make you pass. Dude, the truth was right there. There was really nothing there right now. And granted, he's got a long career ahead of him. He's got plenty of time to improve and get better. But in my opinion, it's Carson Wentz. You're going into the season with him as your starter. You can say it's a competition between him and Jalen Hurts, but if you're honestly going to go with who's better right now, it's Carson Wentz.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, I am a big proponent of him being a terrible quarterback coming out. He just doesn't read. Again, he doesn't read safeties. He's late on his passes. He's late. He's as late as Tua Tagovailoa was throwing to his wide receivers.
God.
He's late on everything.
Let it go. You just can't let it go.
It's ridiculous, though. He's not going to be a good quarterback.
There's a mute button. Can I mute you?
I don't think you can because I'm in control too. So we just be muting each other and nobody be talking. But
that would be awesome. We just go back and forth. It's like, I
just have this feeling that once they went to him, like it's just you can't turn around now.
Turn around.
You can't look back.
DJ, I've got one more exciting one and then two that I don't think are all that exciting. So let's go with Washington because I think we both think that they need to make a change. It's a very young team, but, and I hate to say that they're competitive right now because they made the playoffs. Like, no one else makes the playoff with that team. They still have plenty of growing and building to do. So I think that they bring in a veteran to start year one. Maybe it's another spot, maybe Cam Newton, the whole Cam Newton, Ron Rivera tie-in. But I think one way or another, they're going to get a veteran quarterback to bring in to start. But a guy like Mac Jones or a guy like Kyle Trask at some point, late first round, some point in the second round, if you can swindle a deal, that's where I think they go with this because they're not going to get one of those top flight guys. They're going to have to settle a little bit. But if they fall in love with one of those guys and can make it happen with a veteran this year, and then let a guy like Trask or Jones grow and develop, that might be the young quarterback that ends up being the signal caller for this team that's going to be probably okay moving forward because they have so much youth, especially on that defensive line. Like their defense is good. They carried Alex Smith and Tyler Heineke and kind of played a competitive game against the NFC team that's in the Super Bowl right now. So I think they've got some growing to do, but I'm going with a veteran to start this year. And then I'm going to go with like a guy like Mac Jones from then on.
Taylor Heineke.
What did I call him?
Tyler Heineke?
You knew what I meant, though.
His name was Taylor, though.
You call Ryan Tannehill Tyler.
Well, intentionally because he's a different quarterback.
Well, I call Taylor Tyler just because I don't know his real first name.
Yeah, I have them stick. I think they'll resign Alex Smith for another year because I think it's one of those situations where he's that veteran presence who's got experience in the league, and then you go ahead and draft a Mac Jones to come along with him, kind of bring him up, get him experience, get him used to the offense and things like that. I think that's a good fit and a good matchup. It's just kind of the spirit that Alex Smith kind of brings to that football team in general. So I think he ended up staying for another year, maybe another 2 years. Who knows? While they bring in like a Mac Jones and develop him and behind that veteran quarterback. So that's where I'm going with that one.
Yeah, same thought process.
Yep.
Looks like you have one other team on yours that I didn't have on mine.
I just said Steelers. I considered them having somebody else. Just if like Big Ben retires or whatever, but I don't think he will. But
I don't think
you never know with that fucking idiot. But if he doesn't retire, he's the quarterback. But I considered throwing somebody else in there, but I changed my mind. I probably should have just erased it in general because obviously it's him because they don't have anybody else that they can play at quarterback. And but what if he retires? Like, what if he's just like, fuck it, I can't do it anymore. I gotta go masturbate
in some public bathroom somewhere and drink a lot of booze while I'm doing it because I have these kind of problems that every other American does. The only reason I don't think he will is because they had like that mic'd up thing after the game, and it was a couple of the Steelers players sitting on the sideline, and Roethlisberger came over to Pouncey and basically said he wanted to win it for him, really showing that like Roethlisberger is probably going to be back and Pouncey might not be. So that's what I'm taking out of that conversation that they had. So I think it is Ben, but I do think the time is now. Hell, I thought the time was 2-3 years ago to start grooming a guy to bring in. Because we've seen Mason Rudolph play, and that didn't really go out all that well. So I'm going to go with Ben Roethlisberger as well, but I do think they need to add someone, and preferably someone young, because just bringing in another veteran isn't going to get it done. The last two I had on the list here, DJ, was the Giants keeping Daniel Jones and the Cowboys keeping Dak Prescott. I guess the sexier two there would be Dak Prescott, and there are the talks about like, well, he can touch the free agent market and blah, 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 this and that. Dallas is going to find a way to seal this guy up. Like, there's no realistic scenario, in my opinion, where he leaves. So in case people were wondering, why wasn't Dak on the list? Dak's on the list, but I think he's like 99% staying in Dallas.
Yeah, no, he's there.
Yeah.
What else are they going to do? You'd be absolutely idiots to allow him to leave. Like, you don't take a top potentially when he's playing, he's top 5, top 7 quarterback in the NFL. Like I've talked about Deshaun Watson, I just forgot Dak even existed. But as far as just pure talent goes, like he's a top 5 to 7 quarterback in the NFL. You don't just let that go. Like that gives you a chance at goals. Yeah,
I guess you could trade him for Deshaun Watson. Just try to solve your problem.
That's not happening. But I bet, no. I mean, I could see Deshaun Watson getting traded to Miami.
Jesus Christ. We need to end this before I come to the computer. Before we do end this, if you are going to be purchasing anything on the Fanatics website, instead of going straight to their website, go to our website, loadedboxpodcast.com. Click on one of the Fanatics links that we have. If you make your purchase by starting from one of our links, we get a small commission back. It goes to buy us more Busch Light to help fuel these podcasts. We would definitely appreciate that. So hit over to loadedboxpodcast.com. With that, DJ, contractually obligated to ask you this. Do you have anything else you would like to add to this episode?
Go with some college basketball bets, baby.
Yeah, baby, money, dollar bills. As always, check us out on Twitter at LoadedBox. I talked about the website, loadedboxpodcast.com. We've got our NFL mock drafts. We've got our NFL draft player profiles. We've got dynasty rankings. We've got dynasty mock drafts. All that's at loadedboxpodcast.com. Next episode, we'll be previewing the Super Bowl with our against the spread picks and our prop bet picks. We're available everywhere: iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube. Subscribe, rate, review. DJ, send us out.
Bye.
Is that ASMR?
I feel like I could sing with this thing.